Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Just some introductions. Mr. Chek Meng, violinist from the 10 Quartet, and also artist faculty at the Yong Siew Toh Conservatory of Music. Maestro Shlomo Mintz, international renowned violinist, violist, and conductor. Very warm welcome to both of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Wilson, and the first question I'd like to direct this evening is to Mr. Ong. And because you are a Singaporean musician and you have been in Singapore in the circuit for a very long time and you understand the ins and outs, what does the Singapore International Violin Competition mean for Singapore?
I was part of the committee for the Singapore National Violin Competition. Yeah. And the National Arts Council of Singapore has always wanted to have an international competition here. And I think with the setting up of the Yong Siew Toh, with our head of strings, Professor Tian Zhou, coming in, the groundwork, the foundation was laid for this competition to become a reality. Because with international competition of this scale, requires a great jury, fantastic, we need a group of people that can support the whole system. And then we also have to have great orchestras. We also need to have great competitors. And so in order to gain some credibility, I think the conservatory is a very important part of it, and also, of course, our head of strings. And from then on, since the competition started, the first edition was 3 years ago, I think the aim was to bring the level of awareness in Singapore of what can be done on the violin to a higher level. We have fantastic talent in Singapore. We have very good young talent, but they have to know what's the level they have to aspire to. And with proper guidance, and with more and more conservatory graduates here coming on to teach our youngsters, I think we will slowly build towards having more Singaporean competitors in the competition. I think it was great that the last edition we had Jin Hong and Ike, and I can't remember her name, but then this time we had Gabriel. The experience of participating in a competition like this is invaluable for Singaporeans. And I mean, on a different level, I mean, personally, I think the competition for Singapore to hold such a competition sort of put Singapore on the map internationally, and people would like, wow. Because from experience, I mean, I played for maestros like Norbert Breinin of the Amadeus Quartet, and then they expressed surprise that, oh, you actually play the violin in Singapore. So I think this competition is fantastic. I mean, it was never, growing up, we never had this. And I have to thank Professor Tian Zhou for bringing this competition here.
That's great. And how about from another perspective, from Maestro Mintz, you have sat on countless juries in international competition. And so, by no means, violin competitions are not a rarity in the world. But in your opinion, is there something special about the Singapore International Violin Competition?
Well, first of all, I'm very happy, honored to be here. And I would really want to congratulate you ahead of time of extremely good organization to begin with.
Yes, sir.
This puts this particular competition at a real edge in comparison to others, and well-known ones too, that are not so well organized or have difficulty in organizing in reality such an event. So, I mean, the true way of Singaporean life, where organization is really excellence in organization, things like Singapore Airlines, is something that everybody enjoys, something which is part of the mentality here, and it immediately filtered into this competition with no question. I mean, I congratulate literally the organization and the staff of this competition. They've done an excellent job and made all of our stay very, very pleasant indeed throughout. That's number one. Number two, facilities are very good, excellent. The only thing which I think this competition is lacking is a real Well, real wide-angle public curiosity. That is important to build, but that's also a real fun part of growing up, of having a competition mature. You know, in my time, in the last 15 years, I've resided as a president, probably more competitions than anybody else. I'm not incredibly proud, particularly proud of this record, except that I actually had a real hands-on experience on what happens backstage, etc. And I think one of the biggest challenges of competitions will be to really get the wide-angle audience. I think it's important not only for the character of the competition, but it's also important for the international name of the competition. For example, one of the things that helped competitions like Tchaikovsky and Brussels is that there was a king or a queen behind, and Tchaikovsky was a cult figure, which was so important, which was cultivated. Obviously, those countries take national pride and national personal attitude to cultivate this sort of thing. And for example, in Belgium, what they do is they get the whole country involved in it, not only through TV and watching from remote online, sort of, okay, that happened, or, you know, we do this with YouTube all the time. Mm-hmm. But to actually get the people involved, to get the youth schools, not necessarily music schools, but the wide schools to, for example, participate in the earlier stages. It sometimes has more values and experience in a person's life than somebody forcing him, okay, now you take a violin lesson or you take a music lesson. Because sometimes the experience itself speaks for itself silently. Mm-hmm. Ah, okay, so this is what these people are doing. They are listening to this and this and that. And by doing very silent sort of view of things can enhance a great deal the competition. Because what happens is when you look from the outside and you see so many people are actually involved or so much public, that attracts a lot of things, a lot of people from the outside that attracts attention. Yeah. Okay, and that's exactly what happened with those other grand competitions. I've enjoyed very much working with the orchestra, mm-hmm. with the youth orchestra. They're really nice kids, and we have both rediscovered Mozart in its yes. own, from a very particular angle. Yes. And it was very nice of them to be so pleasantly involved in the process. Mm-hmm. Because when you are really open and involved, then more information can filter, and then eventually a better result. Mm-hmm. I have not heard the big orchestra for quite a few years, but I'm sure they'll do a very fine job tonight, or did already. Mm-hmm. Those are very different concertos. I mean, Sibelius and Tchaikovsky is... Sibelius is more difficult for a conductor mm-hmm. than Tchaikovsky. So yeah, I'll be very curious.
Since the competition is only in the second, edition, I think we have. I agree with him that we have a long way to go in terms of national support,
mm-hmm. advocacy and stuff.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we are lucky to have the late Mr. Rin, mm-hmm. Being one of the founding members. I mean, supporter of this festival, and I don't think there's any competition in the world where, the 6 finalists, when of the final round, get to have generous loan of fantastic instruments for the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. And these are instruments of the top caliber. I mean, like Stradivarius, mm-hmm. Presenda, Montagnana, Guadagnini, Storioni, and Tononi. These instruments are, for young artists starting out, it's very helpful. It's it's wonderful. It's like having a Ferrari at your disposal. Yes. On this level, I think it's very important that it what sets Singapore apart from. I mean, besides the prize money, of course.
I think that the load of the instruments, we could agree, it's a huge draw for participants.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're not here, but of course all these players have been in the circuit for for quite a long time. A lot of them are in a lot of competitions, and I think, but the very tangible reward, one of the very tangible rewards, is to have to do well and to have an instrument of the top level for your use.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, back to Maestro Mintz. Let's talk about the experience you had working with the orchestra. I think I was around for the very first rehearsal just with the orchestra, and I think this competition not only was beneficial for the participants, it's also very beneficial for the members, the students in the orchestra, because I saw the way that you worked with them. You were very strict with them, but you also imparted a lot of knowledge on how to interpret Mozart, not just as a violinist, but of music in general. So I think that was very, very helpful for the students. Now, moving on, if I were a soloist working with Maestro Shlomo Mintz as an accompanist, I think that would be rather trepidating, but it's a huge honor. But on your end, how was your experience working with the soloists?
I think, like I said before, if you have a very open mentality and a positive mentality, and people are willing to learn information, that you can also give that information which is being not filtered. Many times I find when I work with other international groups that people are trying to filter my information and try to get it on the spot and question it. But this age, they're really willing to participate, really willing to learn. It's more a question of knowledge. So when that happens, the experience is most positive. The orchestra does not have to be perfect. It cannot be perfect from the start, because we need to have, just like a competition, you need to have a process. If everything would be perfect in this competition and there is no process, then we are all bored, because we have the Berlin Philharmonic here and that's it. And it's a self-drive Ferrari, like using your terms. It's a self-drive. You don't need to drive, so we don't need a driver. So why did we buy the car, yes. Right? The most wonderful thing is the process, and the process was very positive with the kids, with the orchestra. Also, I think a lot. Well, I mean, I only worked with 6 candidates, and I've heard very little from the competition itself. So my opinion cannot be based on knowledge or seeing what I saw. But working with these 6 people, I mean, they're all very different people. Some of them are lacking experience, and that's normal. But experience applicable also for competition, that sometimes, unfortunately, decides also the fate of the competitors. Yes. And an experienced jury, which this jury was, sees that and makes a decision. It actually becomes easier for a jury to make a decision in such a fashion, My heart goes for the competitors. Personally, I have never liked competitions. The only 2 competitions that I have participated in, I have lost. And ever since, I've been playing just too many concerts and having a wonderful career and wonderful experiences, meeting. I should not like to talk about myself too much, but really meeting the cream of the cream. People like worked with Ormandy, worked with Casals and Isaac Stern. Those are icons. Those are people that are already in the history books. Anyway, this particular experience shows that there is more to be wished for, but I look at it positively, because it's a process. It's a process not only of the organization, it's a process, it's an all-out effort. When you have a domino effect, then everybody benefits. So will the local society, so will the name of the country, and so will so many components. I'm sure that with that sort of organization, I'm sure that within numbered years, this will be one of the leading competitions in the world, the one to beat or the one to get. In the future, I mean, I would love to see an award or a concept where things are decided based on long-standing artistic merit. But that's me personally. I mean, the reality of things is that public needs to know, needs to have comparison. Just like we all go to a shopping mall and compare prices, and yeah, that's what the competition purpose will be. And I hope that the competition will build a good enough support for him or her, to build an international career and to carry the name of the competition as a quality product.
Not as a be-all, end-all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good start. I mean, for the competitor that wins the competition, and they will have concerts lined up. I mean, 4 concerts with major orchestras in the world. But the thing is, it's not just about these next 4 concerts. It's what you do these next 4 concerts and how you can build from there. I think the platform, I mean, the winner will be fortunate to have all this laid out for him, but the hard work starts there. Nobody can take away the achievement of winning a Tchaikovsky competition. You know, you read somebody's bio or Tchaikovsky competition winner. You know, it's fantastic. That means you have achieved something, you manage. But then the thing is what you do in your concert and how you touch people's lives with your music. That's of fundamental importance.
So, you know, the task of a competition is to ensure to have a very strict set of rules, and then based on the competitor's ability only.
So I mean, winning the competition is not the be-all and end-all of it. You know, I mean, the winner of this competition will get to have a series of how many, maybe 12 recitals and concerts with orchestras all over the world, like in Japan, Australia, US and China. He or she will have all these opportunities lined up. So it's what he or she going to do in this series of concerts, and on how you can build a career. I mean, the opportunities are there, and that's a great part. But if this
is a great head start.
Yes. But then ultimately, like Maestro says, it's what you do on stage. It's how you relate to an audience and how you're going to present and build a career.
Yeah. Let's go back to the grand finalists: Chisa Kitagawa, Sergei Dogadin, and Alexander Korniev. You were at the performance.
Yes.
So, what do you think that was special about their performance?
I mean, they're all different. I thought Chisa was really solid. Sergei he really was playing with the orchestra. He was playing with Maestro. He was really working with the orchestra. He knew what the orchestra part was. Korniev, Sasha is my personal favorite because he's here in YST and he's such a great violinist, and he's got such beautiful sound, the sound that draws you in. And I think they all have different personalities, but I mean, you can see how nervous or excited they were, but they kept their emotions in check, and in the competition they had to do that, and I thought that was very admirable.
Competitions are very, very hard.
Yes.
Really very hard. I mean, they're nerve-wracking. More nerve-wracking than just playing a concert, by far. So my heart goes really for all 3 of them. I have my personal, you know, distinctive comments to all 3 of them, but I think at this point, really, instead of saying it, it's much more important to have a violin festival. A good violin festival, and may the judges decide as they wish. This is what they're there for. It's their now task and responsibility, and I actually enjoy being out of the process after seeing so many times, being in the process. And I wish them all luck. I think, generally speaking, they're all very fine youngsters. Again, just like everybody's situation, if you don't have room for improvement, then there's no reason for you to leave. You're so perfect. It's now becoming so relative and not important. By being so perfect, you are not important anymore. What is important is the process of learning for all 3 of them, and I wish them luck. I wish them luck. Yes.
And so for the final round, we would have 2 Sibelius and 1 Tchaikovsky. In your opinion, which one would be a more challenging one for the soloist?
Well, you know, Sibelius is more difficult to conduct from a conductor's point of view, also from the orchestra's point of view. Tchaikovsky, yes, well, I mean, you obviously need to be a violinist, a real violinist to play it, but in a way it's easier. In a way it's easier. It's easier to do a good Tchaikovsky execution than doing a good Sibelius execution. Yeah. This I can tell you for sure, for sure.
To me,
almost every point of view.
Yeah, you need a little bit more colors, you need more imagination for the Sibelius, and because of the rhythmic intricacies.
It's more versatile.
Yeah, you need to be more on top of learning the whole orchestra, how it moves. So,
and yeah, the part has, by the composer himself, has been re-edited right at the start because it was notoriously difficult, right?
Yeah, both are difficult.
Both are beautiful, and they're a major part of violin repertoire. So you're going to be seeing the classics.
So, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook, we have been speaking to Mr. Chek Meng from the Tang Quartet and also artist faculty at the Yong Siew Toh Conservatory of Music, to Maestro Shlomo Mintz, internationally renowned virtuoso violinist, violist, and conductor. My name is Wilson Ong. Thank you very much for joining us for this interview. Do stay tuned for the results of the Singapore International Violin Competition. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.